What's good? It's Fever. Today we're going to go over the best Skyrim mods, or rather the best Skyrim Special Edition mods for dragons. Being such an iconic piece to Skyrim, it's no surprise that all things dragons have been something modders have gravitated to, and I've gone through the many dragon mods to give you this list of my favorites. So right out the gate, huge recommendation to Diverse Dragons Collection SE, and you may be able to put it together from the name of the mod, but this adds more dragons to the game, period. In fact, at latest counts, there are 28 new dragons, and each have their own unique textures and models, and some are downright terrifying, and the dragons will have their own differently themed skills and abilities. They'll have breath attacks that may look pretty, but may very well poison you, or reduce your damage, or hurt and kill and debuff you in new and fun ways. The dragons themselves are added into the game seamlessly through the leveled lists, and will appear in the same way that you would imagine any other dragon in the game to appear. And they have multiple variants at different strength levels, so it maintains that type of scaled difficulty. This mod is an absolute must-have. Next mod on the list is Dragons Shout with Voice, and I always talk about mods that do small things that have a large impact, and this is another one of those. Throughout the game, it's explained that the dragon shouts and the breath attacks are not so much attacks, but they're just dragons speaking. Yet in-game, almost every dragon shouts just with like a generic roar or a feral sounding outcry. This mod changes the shouts to voices, so instead of hearing roar, you hear Rhoda. The link below is to a non-special edition mod, but it does work for the special edition. There's also a mod that does a similar thing called Dragon Real Shouts, but that mod was created in a way that makes it prone to compatibility issues, so if you're using that or you were choosing between the two, stick with the one I mentioned here earlier. Next mod on the list is the powerful Dragon Animation Replacer, and this is something that is much better seen and better yet experienced, but with clumsy words, it replaces the animations that dragons use to give them a more regal, a more proud way of doing things. It gives their actions the weight they should have because they're motherfucking dragons. And again, small thing, large impact. Okay, so something that always kind of bugged me was the dragon corpses. You would suck out the dragon's soul and then there would just be leftover bones. So I have two mods that kind of help with this issue. There's Dragon Remains and Bloody Dragon Bones, which both just change the dragon corpse. With Bloody Dragon Bones, you can imagine, the bones from the corpse will, instead of just looking as is, will show signs of combat, will be bloody, and they just look higher res, they look better. Where Dragon Remains, the mod I tend to use, the actual dragon itself isn't reduced to its skeleton after being absorbed. The flesh and scales and all that fun jazz is just there, lifeless on the ground. And I found I liked this mod more, especially when I added things to add more dragon looks or more variations, because it lets you marvel over the stuff that you killed and the stuff that you've modded into your own game. So I guess keeping in line with that, I should mention the Bellyaches HD Dragon Replacer Pack. Simply put, this mod makes dragons look better. It is the equivalent to any other high-resolution texture mod, just a more detailed dragon. The way dragon textures work in the default game, though, it's kind of like a cheat, because they have issues. There's seam issues, there's texture issues, they look muddy, they're lower resolution than they should be, because the developers knew that you would really only see dragons from a distance, or if they were in your face, they're probably breathing fire, which kind of distorts what you're seeing, and then when they die, they become bones. So the textures were skimped on for performance reasons. This mod cleans all of that up, and when used with the Dragon Corpse mod from earlier, you can really tell the difference. And Bellyaches is also just like a stamp of quality, which leads into the next mod, Bellyaches New Dragon Species SSE. So this is kind of like Diverse Dragons and kind of not. This mod adds 13 completely new dragon species into the world, but it's not done seamlessly through leveled lists and encounter zones. Instead, they're hand-placed. In fact, there are 50 hand-placed encounters using those new 13 types of dragons, just found out throughout the entire world. Some of my favorite that the mod introduces are these small groups of smaller dragons, so you fight like 3 small dragons at a time, and all of the different things that this mod adds are in-line difficulty-wise with standard dragons, but a problem you can run into is there are some of the areas that they added dragons where if you're just playing the game normally, they can cause these unexpected or undue challenges that can really stall out progress because it feels like a wall. It feels cheap. It feels like you can't beat that unless you spent time grinding or increased your gear, especially if you're just zipping through the main storyline. This is the kind of mod though that I really enjoyed adding mid-playthrough to give me something to hunt, to find all 50 encounters encounters, as opposed to just being a weird tweak to the game that just adds dragons in a kind of inorganic way. Although I should add that since the mod has been taken over by a new author, there have been multiple installations to fix some of those issues and just taking in suggestions from the community for ways to implement these dragons in a whole bunch of different ways, but I just found that what Bellyaches' new dragon species does well are the hand-placed dragons. Let's go back to a couple smaller type mods with Dragon Bleed bug fix. For whatever reason, in the scripting in Skyrim, bleeding in dragons would always produce errors. It would prevent dragons from bleeding the way that they should, and this fixes that, but more for me, and it might just be completely placebo, it might just be to make me feel better, but this prevents a bunch of papyrus errors from popping up. Now, does this make my game run smoother or prevent crashes or reduce combat lag or anything like that? I don't know, but I do know that it feels better knowing that those errors aren't happening in the background of my game. The last truly recommended mod I have here is Real-Time Dragon Fast Travel. Now, I hate loading screens in game like an unhealthy, ludicrous amount. This mod makes it so after using the Bend Will shout on a dragon, you can fly to a destination that you pick on the map, but you don't do it by entering a loading screen and fast travel. You do it in real time, a la The Never-Ending Story. Literally, your dragon flies you to that point. And I just think that this is rad as fuck. I happen to be one of those turn off fast travel and the UI and the compass kind of players, so you might not like this because it is a form of tedium. You're getting an alternate form of fast travel that isn't fast. I guess I should also mention Fully Flying Dragons SE. This is a weird mod because it does allow you to fly around on dragons, something that a lot of people are looking for. The problem is the way that it does it right now for the Skyrim Special Edition is that you summon a dragon almost like you summon a mount in other games. It exists as its own spell, which is fine, but there isn't really a lore-friendly option, so there are like 58, 60 different dragons that you can purchase a book for that gives you a spell that summons them, and you can have a simple ice dragon. You can also have the Macho Man Randy Savage dragon as well. It's not a huge issue if you're able to just like pick and choose, but for me personally, I'm just going to wait until a more lore-friendly mod comes myself before I ride around in the skies with complete control. I'll tag on at the end here my own personal tweaks or mods that I tend to use, and these mods I only use because we don't have mods that will replace these entirely once the script extender comes out, and that is going to be Sturdy Dragons. This gives a blanket effect that dragons take half damage from you and 25% damage from NPCs. It doesn't go as in-depth as other mods have where it like tweaks magic resistance and armor and HP. No, just a flat damage reduction, and the NPC reduction especially I really enjoy, and less dragons 2016 SSE. And this fixes one of my issues, especially if you use mods that hand place enemies or give you more varied and difficult encounters through different facets of the game, is that dragons can end up feeling commonplace and not epic. And the combination of these two mods are simple yet powerful. Dragons are a much bigger deal and rarer. I love the idea that I can now see less dragons than sabercats and fear them more than sabercats. Because fuck sabercats. So yeah, that is going to do it for me. These are just some of the best dragon related mods I could think of. If you have anything to add, throw them in the comments, and until next time, this is Fever. Pulse.